Atlanta Falcons rumors now on Chat Sports, and oh look, it once again revolves around the quarterback position. Now, Peter King mentioned this on Monday in his Monday morning quarterback article. Says that owner Arthur Blank is quote unquote fascinated by the quarterback prospects in this year's draft. Which I get it. There's Justin Fields, there's Trey Lance, potentially Mac Jones, Lawrence and Wilson are going to be off the board. But King also mentioned this, that Blank will not force a decision upon his new regime, a new GM, a new head coach, which is good. You don't, especially if you're, the GM and the head coach, you don't want ownership coming in and saying, hey, I'm dictating what we do at number 4 overall. That's not something the new regime really wants to have happen. In general, we don't know what the Falcons' plan is going to be at pick number 4. At least 2 of these guys, at least the expectation is that 2 of these players will be on the board for them. Trey Lance, who's got, I think, some of the best upside in this year's draft class, still a bit unproven, still raw, still accuracy issues, but has all the traits that you want. I'm going to risk it all for him. With the Falcons, though, I'm not sure. Justin Fields, the local kid to some extent, he'd be a great fit with the Falcons. There's also Mac Jones, which I don't want to do. Maybe the Niners will take that off their hands. They don't have to make that decision there. But if Lance or Fields are on the board, yeah, it doesn't help you win right now. But if you're the Falcons, look, Matt Ryan's 35 years old. I know they might think he's got another 4 or 5 years. It's possible. The nightmare scenario for Atlanta is this, is that Matt Ryan has like one more good year in him. And then this new regime is caught between a rock and a hard place, not actually having a chance even to get a franchise quarterback. The way I think this is going to go for the Falcons is one of 3 ways. There are 3 options that make sense for Atlanta. Number 1, take the quarterback. If you're going to take a quarterback at 4, as long as I like them, Trubisky, it's going to be fine. All right, whether it's Trey Lance or Fields, if you take that guy and sit him for a year or 2 behind Matt Ryan, I can't complain very much. The other option, if you're trying to maximize the pure value of the 4th overall pick, trade down, get more assets, see what you can get, and then take somebody else. Or you can stand pat, and I think the reality is for Atlanta, if they don't trade down and there isn't a quarterback taken at 4, I believe the pick is going to be Kyle Pitts. Arthur Smith is a tight end guy. He wants to use multiple tight ends. Right now there's Hayden Hurst and Lee Smith. Kyle Pitts, at least the general consensus here, is he's the number 2 player in this year's draft. Take Kyle Pitts. I love him. He's awesome. I will not complain either. What I'm saying here, Atlanta, you kind of can't go wrong as long as the player ends up being good, Whether it's Pitts, a quarterback, or trade down, you're getting good asset or assets back in exchange for your selection. So who do you want the Falcons to take in round 1? Get your votes for him. Is it a quarterback? Do you want to trade down, take someone like a Patrick Surtain, potentially? Do you want to just take Kyle Pitts? Maybe Penei Sewell is the guy that you want as well. Get your votes in for me in the comment section. Who do you want the Falcons to take in round 1? Trey Lance held his pro day today, his second pro day actually. The lead team, if you will, who was at the pro day was the San Francisco 49ers, right? They're looking to see which quarterback they want at number 3. Their plans are still rather unknown. They've gone to Mac Jones's, and now the second version of both Justin Fields and Trey Lance. John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan were in attendance as well. Plenty of intrigue surrounding the Niners and Trey Lance. Of course, there is no guarantee the Niners take Lance at number 3. That still is very much up in the air. And there were several other teams looking at the locked and loaded round 1 pick. Lance is a difficult evaluation for a couple different reasons. Start with the positives, right? He dominated North Dakota State. And it was very obvious watching him play against the FCS level of competition. He did not belong out there in the sense that he was clearly a substantially better player. Trey Lance, every time he took the field, was the best player on the football field. And frankly, it wasn't even all that close. No disrespect to other North Dakota State players, but he was the best of that grouping out there. He dominated the competition. Of course, he barely played football last year. There are some accuracy concerns. He has the size, the athletic ability, the arm strength that you want. There's a lot of questions around everything else, though. which means checking him out is certainly important for NFL teams. There were 4 notable teams present at Lance's Pro Day today. The 49ers picking number 3, the Falcons picking number 4, the Denver Broncos at 9, and the Patriots at number 15. Could it be a smokescreen? Maybe. But I think it is at least noteworthy that the Falcons, Broncos, and Patriots are all doing their due diligence on a potential franchise quarterback, given some long-term uncertainty for those teams. And the Falcons have Matt Ryan for now. Denver probably a little bit more murky with just Drew Lock as a borderline starting caliber quarterback on their team. Now, there were also, I feel worth mentioning here, teams not at Trey Lance's Pro Day. Carolina at number 8, Washington at 19, the Bears at 20. Could it be a smokescreen for those teams as well? Absolutely possible. Maybe they didn't want to telegraph a potential trade up if you're Washington or Chicago. But where Trey Lance goes, whether it's 3, 4, somewhere else, will have major implications throughout the 2021 NFL Draft, especially if a team like the Falcons want to take him, or if the Broncos want to go up and get him, or if they just sit pat and he falls to them. So let me know in the comments section, folks. Where do you believe Trey Lance will go? Who is going to draft him in the 2021 NFL Draft? Get your votes in for me in the comments section. Let's talk Broncos and Falcons now on Chat Sports, because there is a report from Woody Paige, the longtime Denver Broncos reporter and former ESPN analyst, their guest, whatever you want to call it there. He says the Broncos and Falcons have had trade talks about a potential draft day move in which the Denver Broncos jump up to number 4 to get whatever quarterback they are currently pursuing and desperately want to be their franchise savior, who's not named Drew Lock. And the Falcons then would move down and acquire extra assets. Now, background note here, there have been several reports that the Falcons want to move down. Their cost, however, likely pretty high. Woody Paige did specify what he thinks the cost would be. Here's what he had together in his trade package. Denver Broncos get, of course, number 4 overall. A 5th-round pick as well, because the Falcons have 3 of them. He did not specify which round pick it would be. And then the Falcons receive a 1st-round pick, number 9 overall, a 3rd-round pick, number 71, and a future 1st-rounder. So who says no? Get your votes in here for me. B for the Broncos, F for the Falcons. I think of the options here, unless Atlanta just wants to move down because they don't want to take Kyle Pitts and they want to move down for somebody else on the defensive side of the ball, I think the Falcons say no. The trade value chart says this is about fair, but remember, folks, the trade value chart goes out the window, as we saw with the Niners-Dolphins trade, when you are moving up for a franchise quarterback. It becomes more expensive. Now, the expectation right now is that Trevor Lawrence goes 1, Zach Wilson goes 2, although he's my number 3 quarterback prospect, and then one of Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones go off the board at number 3, and that would leave at least one of Fields or Lance, the 2 names most routinely connected to the Denver Broncos, on the board at number 4. And if they don't believe in Drew Lock, I would highly encourage Denver to go out and get their guy, because I am a big fan of Fields, and I am prepared to risk it all for Trey Lance as well. If I could get one of those guys, even though there's a newish regime in terms of the front office with George Payton as the new GM, I think that makes sense for Denver, even though the cost would be expensive. For the Falcons, meanwhile, if you move down, you're not going to get Kyle Pitts. Penei Sewell's probably off the board as well. That leaves a list that looks something like this. Patrick Surtain, who of these guys I think makes the most sense for them, fills a big-time need at cornerback, is for me at least, the number 1 defensive player in this year's class. Rashawn Slater might be the best player overall on their board. Do they want a linebacker? Micah Parsons? An edge rusher is a huge need. Do they trust the medical stuff for Jalen Phillips? There's J.C. Horn as well if they don't want Surtain. So the Falcons could move down if that's something that they really wanted to pursue. I will make note, and this is very important as well, there are other reports out of Denver that, no, wait a minute, the Broncos have not had talks yet with the Atlanta Falcons. So somebody here is wrong, and or they're being lied to by their sources. The Broncos have been heavily linked to quarterbacks this offseason. And I will float this out there as just a thing to make note of. If you are Denver, and you are trying to move up to number 4, it behooves you to not let that information get out. Because you know what happens then? Other teams might try to move up. And meanwhile, if you're the Falcons and you do want to move down, actually makes sense to leak that information so that more teams try to move up to number 4. So I don't know who's right, who's wrong, whatever. It does make some logical sense if Denver does not believe in Drew Lock. I think the cost would be more than what Woody Paige had suggested. We'll see if I'm right or wrong, or if it even happens. So will the Broncos and Falcons end up making a deal? Get your votes in for me. Type Y for yes they will, or type N for no they won't.